This is the Certifiable Environmental Professional Podcast, and I'm your host, Sam Hopstone. This is my journey to uncover the untold tales from the resumes of fascinating professionals shaping our planet's future.
Certifiable environmental professional.
And you're listening to Certifiable Environmental Professional Podcast.
I got a long list here. You knocked out a bunch of it. Bachelor's, master's, called to the West. Can I circle back to the master's? Was that at SUNY? Was that back east, or did you have any
Arizona
coursework?
State.
Arizona State, right? Tempe.
Right.
Was the field work with that in, Gila River? Was it in that region, or did you head out of state for that, or was it all like lab work?
Okay, so I ended up getting my master's at Arizona State University because in that field botany class that I was talking about, we needed to write a paper. And I decided to go to the New York Botanic Garden Library. So I drove to the Bronx. I left Queens, drove to the Bronx, went to the New York Botanic Garden, which is a grand, beautiful botanic garden.
Like with live plants or an herbarium?
Live plants.
Got
it's
it.
a garden. It's a botanic garden. But they also have these giant glass greenhouses with simulated habitats, and you can see all like tropics or desert plants. But anyway, so I thought, okay, I'm going to go to the library at the Botanic Garden because this is a world-renowned library. I want to go there anyway. So I went there and I was thumbing through materials, trying to decide what I was going to write this paper on. And I came across this article about Sonoran desert plants and the adaptations these plants needed in order to survive in the desert. And I was honestly just awed. I was flabbergasted. I never thought about this before.
No shade, no water.
No shade.
No hummus.
No water.
Like just rock.
Cold
just
in the winter.
Yeah.
Hot as in the summer. The sun beating on them. And I was like, how? And there's all these adaptations that plants have so that they don't lose water, so that they reflect light. All of these things, it's really miraculous. They even have a different kind of photosynthesis, some of them. So I was just really spellbound, and I never forgot the desert. That just stayed with me. And so I left New York to teach at Back to the Lander High School on the coast in California for 2 years. And I decided to get my master's after I did that, and I was like, I want to be in the desert somewhere. I want to be with these desert plants. And that's how I ended up at Arizona State University.
The Sonora was calling.
The Sonoran Desert, the saguaros, the ocotillos, those plants. Desert plants are shockingly gorgeous.
Oh, yes.
Their flowers blow you away. Think about a cactus and its flowers. It has the most showy flowers. It has to attract pollinators. It needs pollinators, and it attracts them. It has gorgeous flowers. Anyway, so many other different plants too. But my thesis was on a rare plant that grew south of Tucson in a canyon. Kind of not in a canyon, because in the desert you don't have real canyons, but like these channels where water flows, like an ephemeral drainage. And like a wash to us, forest dwellers think of a wash as something big, but in the desert, these ephemeral little
wash that's hella big.
you can have it hella big, but you can also have these little teeny ephemeral channels where water flows
like
in the
finger,
rain. That you just exactly
chug it through.
It's exactly right.
You just had to pick one plant. You couldn't.
Right. So I looked at strategies, just different strategies. Why was its reproductive success limited? That was sort of my question. So I looked at pollinators. I looked at a whole bunch of things. It was fascinating to me.
Like a performance assessment?
Yeah.
What's
yeah.
what would be an ideal, or like what's the optimal rate? What's it currently at, and what's the cause of the difference?
Yeah, like, could it be what pollinated the plant? Was it that the pollinator just wasn't around? Was the seeds viable? Were the seeds viable? Were the seeds the limiting factor that they just didn't produce? What was limiting this plant's success, basically, is what I looked at. And the name of the plant was Graptopetalum bartramii.
Never would have guessed.
No.
What's the common name? I wouldn't guess in a million years.
Okay, so the common name is a stone crop.
Cool.
And it's a succulent. It has thick leaves. It's succulent-y. Like a Dudleya. I don't know if you know Dudleya, but if you know Dudleya, that's a more common one.
Like the globular.
It's like, yeah, it has a succulentish leaf.
Cool.
Which a succulent leaf, if you think about it, it's a way that plants don't lose so much water, because the surface to volume ratio of a thick leaf is way better than some thin blade. Also, it's kind of a leathery top, which also limits the amount of water that gets transpired out. So it's all about protecting it from drying out, from desiccating. How do these plants keep their water inside of them in a desert system where it's 110 degrees every day for 5 months, pretty much, or 2 months, or 3 months if there's a break in the weather? But that's pretty intense. And nights in the desert get much cooler, and the days much hotter, and winters can be, in Tucson, winters can be cold. Days can be super hot. So it's a puzzle that people are fascinated by, like the survival. And they do it so well, they've survived.
It's kind of a funny concept too of having too much sun. It's like they can't use all, they're not able to process all that. Shed it, there's wax and whatever powders to let's cover this thing up.
Right. Yeah, so anyway, that's how I ended up at Arizona State University. And I started working for the Forest Service. I did some consulting. I saw a job opening at University of California at Berkeley, leading these sort of professional botanical workshops. Some of them multi-day, some of them one day, some of them in lab. So like morphology, look at the morphology of a genus, or look at the morphology of Poaceae, which is the grasses. That was lab work. But sometimes these workshops were all field-based, and some of them were like, let's go to this remote place in Death Valley and see what we can find there. So just, what's the flora here? Let's go learn. What's the flora in the White Mountains, which is east side of California, east of the Sierras.
Yeah, not too far from Death Valley, just
a little bit north.
Walk in the park,
right?
See what you find.
What is the flora of this little mountain range in this area or this portion of the Sierra? People love all sorts of different things. And they're like, some of these classes, I mean, really, like, there was a 30-person limit or a 25-person limit. Some of them filled up in literally 6 hours. This is like, people love what people love, and they're motivated by what they're motivated. And so
you've gotten to try, you've explored academia, agency work, private consulting, had an extensive, education too. You made it up to master's.
Right.
Okay, we talked about post-bac. Have you been involved in any research initiatives, or surveying kind of counts as research? In the moment here, I'm trying to
well,
here's
a project I worked on for the last 2 years. So a friend of mine who's a really good botanist, and she specializes in the Mojave Desert. So her whole career has been the Mojave Desert or nothing. And she does botany, but she also does wildlife. So she really specializes in biology in a broad sense in the Mojave Desert. If I offer her a job in the Sierras, no. If I offer her a job in the Central Valley, no.
Interesting.
Because I know the Mojave Desert. So, and that's fine. She's done absolutely well. So she's on the board of an organization called the Mojave Ground Squirrel Conservation Council. So the Mojave ground squirrel is, I think it is threatened now in the state of California. Mojave ground squirrel has lost a lot of habitat and its numbers have dwindled greatly. So the Mojave Ground Squirrel Conservation Council's whole mission is to learn what they can about this organism and try to understand its habitat requirements so that they can make sound decisions around habitat acquisition, restoration, and keep the species from going even further in decline and perhaps lost. And so they had a vegetation survey component that I wrote a proposal for with my friend Denise Liberto. And we were awarded the work, and we worked closely with the Mojave Ground Squirrel Conservation Council as well as the USGS, especially, and also with the University of Nevada at Reno, because the researchers who were doing the statistics were from there. And Todd Eskew from USGS, his whole career has been about trying to understand organisms that are at risk in the Mojave Desert and other places too. So he is a researcher and a scientist, and he designs experiments and he analyzes them, and he uses one to get information and then does another to get even more information so that they can understand how to protect organisms. So we did a vegetation survey to try and understand the habitat needs of this ground squirrel, the Mojave ground squirrel. And so, yes, we were in a sense working on research in trying to understand, okay, what are the shrubs? What shrubs make up habitat? What's the percent cover of the shrubs? Because wildlife species need protection from predators, and they use vegetation as protection sometimes. They use it for sustenance, for their food sometimes. There's all different needs that an organism has that the vegetation provides. So we were looking at many different facets of the vegetation in an area where the Mojave ground squirrel occurs, and occurs in good numbers, to try and understand habitat requirements from a whole bunch of perspectives. So we had annual plots. So we basically laid out 208 transects, 50-meter transects. And we had some that were in upland areas, and we had some that were in wash habitats.
Yeah, you're covering all the different, okay.
So we were trying to understand the habitat, which is, dry and also wet. But wet in the desert means when it rains, water flows through there, and when there's no more water, it's dry. So a wash, you know what a wash is, but in a desert, it's not always wet. It's mostly dry, and they're ephemeral, not perennial. So perennial washes always have water in them. Ephemeral washes sometimes have water in them when it rains mostly, and just depending on the habitat. So if there's a lot of water upslope, then that ephemeral wash will run water a longer amount of time. So we had wash transects, we had upland transects, we measured shrub diversity, we measured shrub cover along the transects, we had annual plots along the transects where we just looked at annuals, and we looked at their height, we looked at their percent cover, we named all of them in every plot. We had 5 plots per transect, so 208 transects, 5 annual plots per transect. That's a lot of annual data. We also did a releve plot, and a releve plot is you take a 5-meter string and you attach it to your belt. So I attached it to my belt with a bungee, not a bungee, a carabiner. And I was tethered to another person at a certain point on the transect tape, at the midpoint of the transect tape, so at 25 meters, because the transect tape was 50 meters in length. And I did a 5-meter radius circle around this transect tape with my 5-meter leash, kind of, that was attached to me, this rope. And in that plot, that circular plot, we recorded everything we saw. Annuals, perennials, annuals that were herbaceous, annuals that were woody, shrubs, and percent covers. So there was all these different ways. And the releve plot, this last one that I've talked about with the string, is really to get more diversity. Like, what's really here? Not just what's in the annual plot, not just what's hitting the transect tape, but what is the diversity of this area? And that's why a releve plot is a really good tool when you're doing vegetation sampling.
Like literally species counts. I mean, not a species counts, but quantities, right?
Well, what species are in this releve plot,
and quantities of each one.
What's the percent cover?
Right, okay. Of each
so we
species,
don't count.
Or like total, okay.
Percent cover.
Got it.
Of the, right. So you eyeball the percent cover, and that can be really tricky. You got to kind of sort of, you have to.
You get an eye for it.
It takes a little while. You have to think about it. You have to think about it. You have to do some math, breaking it up, and okay, what's 1% really? What's 1% going to be like? How big is 1%? How big is 5%? How big is 10%? And then you get it, and you've got it.
What about like, was there shallow groundwater? Is there any interaction there? Like, they're digging down and there's, I'm just thinking in the middle of the wash, like I don't know how far down underground river was, did that not affect it?
They were doing all sorts of work out there, trapping, cameras. They had cameras, they have cameras out there for a long time. They're doing a lot. It's just incredible what that group is doing. Fabulous. Fabulous work, totally dedicated people, great scientists. They're all about conservation. They care so much. It was a joy to work with them. And we did that for 2 years. So we had a team of 6 people, 3 botanists and 3 field assistants. We worked in teams of 2. We split up the transects. Each did a third of them. Each team did a third, each team of 2. And we were out there for a couple of weeks, about 3 weeks.
And that was like once a year? Or
and we do that once a year.
Okay, got it.
Right.
That counts.
And then, okay, so what I didn't say and what I should say is we were teaching drones who were going to, okay, so drones flew over after we were done, and we, with infrared sensors, and basically they were looking at the infrared signature of the plants and what we found there so they could attach them, and so we could be replaced, you could say.
You're training the
drones.
You're training the bot.
Right, exactly.
How do you say that? You're like validating their
right.
Infrared signatures for specific species,
right.
so they could hone in
and so they could do it instead of us in the future.
Right.
Which is great.
Cool.
Which is great. That way more work can get done.
They can get that, I mean, they can pick up on like 50 different floral species if they're in a mosaic together in a thing?
That was the work of the University of Nevada at Reno, really. That was their thing. And what was interesting is we started the transect and with a rebar, this piece of metal in the ground.
It starts with a rod.
And it ends with a rod. But at the beginning and end, so that the drones could pick up the transect, we took 3 bathroom tiles, 3 of the cheapest you could find bathroom tiles at a tile store, white, square tiles, and we arranged the 3 tiles at the rebar so that it formed sort of an arrow in the direction that the transect was going. So at the start, the 3 tiles showed the transect going towards the end, and at the end, the 3 tiles were arranged in an arrow shape, pointing to the transect start. And the drones could pick up on the tiles. The ceramic tiles were super important.
Yeah.
And what was so cool, I have to say, so we put them in the first year, and the second year we went back and we redid all of the transects. And the first year was a wet year, a really good moisture year. The second year was a really poor moisture year. And so it was like, wow, it is so different out here in a wet moisture year and in a dry moisture year.
Awesome.
And I said to USGS, I said to them, look, this is going to be a year for plants. Do you want to wait and not do it this year?
No, that's just as valuable.
I was like, do you want to wait until another good year comes? We don't have to do it this year. And they said, no, we want the variability. And I was like, fine, okay. I just don't want, I want you to get the best you can get. I want this to be the most robust.
You're out there for the greenery.
Well, you know, we are. We're there, what? We're going to have to see nothing but these crappy, dried up.
Withered.
There was no rain, but okay. So
There's
anyway.
value there.
But what was so cool, I have to tell you this. You're going to love, love, love this. So there I am, the first day of the second year. So we had already put out the ceramic tiles. We had already laid out the rebar. We went back. We would go to each transect we had done the year before, lay out the tape and retake the data. So on the ceramic tiles, there was this poop. And it was like, what the there's this poop on the tile here. And all around it, there's no poop. But on the tile, there's poop. Then we go to the end point, and there was the same shape poop. Like, you know, these like...
The lions came and claimed it. This is our transect.
Kit fox.
Kit fox, interesting.
So it's the kit fox at night were laying their territory. This is my territory.
Yeah.
This is something new and shiny
it's my tile.
In my territory. I want you to know that this is mine, and I'm going to on it. It was hilarious. It was like, I would say 60% of those tiles had kit fox poop on it. Isn't that amazing?
They covered it.
It was another learning. It was a total learning. Anyway, so the things you learn when you're out there in the field. There was Mojave green rattlesnakes, of course. There was incredible plants, of course. Fabulous. The whole thing was fabulous.
Did you go to the snake workshop last year?
Yes.
You can hang. You can hold them.
Not me.
I'll pass.
I'm still terrified. So, okay.
Okay,
so that's a question about
that covered
research.
It. Yep.
So, you know, research doesn't have to be in a laboratory. Research is
usually
ecological. Both. Research can be in nature.
Totally.
And the analysis of the data can take place, of course, with the computer systems. Sometimes you take things back to the laboratory that you do a field component of the research, and then you need a laboratory component. So an example of that for people is what I always found really cool, and I think if I did a master's again, I do this kind of a master's. So there are these people want to reconstruct the flora from 10,000 years ago, or 20,000 years ago, or 40,000 years ago, or 50,000 years ago. And they go to an area like a lake that's been around for a long, long time. And they take these sediment cores of the lake and they pull them out, and there's pollen in these cores of sediment from the lake. So they take a really deep section of soil out in the form of a cylinder, pull it out, and they look at the pollen at the various times, the various periods of time, geologic time going back. And pollen has a really, really, really ornate surface. And it's very highly identifiable. Also, pollen lasts for a long, long time. And they can recreate floras to some extent based on the pollen that they get from these sediment cores. And I always thought it was just so incredible.
It's such a funny concept. Like, it's dust. How do you find dust in a stack of mud?
Microscopes.
Yeah, you go digging is how you do it.
Yeah, so there's really the component where you're in the field, but you're taking things back to the lab, and a lot of the work is going to be done in the lab.
Right. Desktop review, field surveys, lab assessment,
crunching
the numbers afterwards,
keying out the plants, identifying them. If you're not sure, you take them to a herbarium, which is like a dried plant library, where people literally dry plants in a plant press, and they glue them on when they're dried to these pieces of big paper that are acid-free that will last a long time. And they name them, and they talk about various things in its habitat, and they put them in these cabinets, which they try to keep insect-free. Insect-free is a big, big deal.
Right, because cool, dry, sterile-ish.
Yes. And you can go and look at these dried specimens of plants to ensure that your identification, if you're not sure, is correct.
Yeah, physical reference as opposed to a drawn picture.
Because sometimes you think you have a key that will say, okay, it's this plant. You follow your key. Is it this or is it this? Oh, it's this. Is it this or is it this? Oh, it's this. And you go down and you have all these steps, and you finally get to a species. Well, sometimes the person who wrote the key didn't really know everything about that plant, because plants vary in their range. So if a plant has a big range, let's say the plant goes from California to
Michigan.
Well, Michigan. Yeah, well, shorter than that. Let's say it goes from California all the way north to Washington State. There's variability based on climate, based on rain, based on length, amount of sun. There's variability based on just evolution happening and changes happening and all of that stuff. So nobody's perfect. Nothing is perfect. You always have to sort of double check and triple check. And anyway, so it's good to have a herbarium where you can say, this person is basically saying this is what this rare Atriplex looks like, let's say, for example, and I'm double checking that I did key it out right, because it matters, and I want to be sure, because it's not very clear. Sometimes it's so super easy to key out a plant, and sometimes these plants can be nondescript. It's so nondescript, and there are several species that sort of look like each other. And the keys aren't always that useful, because they might say, the flower, blah, 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 blah. Well, what if you're there and the flower's already gone and all you have is a fruit? Or what if you don't have a fruit? Or what if the anther disappeared months ago and you're not there for the anther? You don't know what color is its pollen. You know what I mean? There's all these things. It's not so easy, is all I'll say. But it's part of the joy of discovery.
That's part of the job.
It's the job, right?
The keys are not, they're not always timeless.
Yeah,
they're seasonally dependent.
They're dependent.
Or, how do you say that? The materials, the traits might not be on that particular specimen you got on hand. So
yeah, I mean, you're in the field. You're not in the field at that site from when it started popping up. They might say in a lupin key, they might say, does it have its cotyledon leaves? Well, I mean, it's cotyledon leaves. That's when the seed germinates. Well, hey, this is July. I don't know what it was doing in March.
Right.
But sometimes the cotyledon leaves persist, so it's a really good character.
Yeah, if you're lucky, they're still there.
Yeah, so anyway, there's all these things that make it complicated, difficult, challenging, and it's an adventure.
It's a muscle that has to be used too,
right.
With botanical identification, you use it or lose it.
Right. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but in Alaska, the native people had how many words for rain or snow? Any kind of, they
25
had
words for ice.
So many words to describe the differences in something that was important to them, like snow or ice or water. Well, in botany, there's like 25 different words to describe hairs on plants. Are they stellate? Are they strigose? Are they hirsute? Are they this? I mean, there's so many words, and you have to know what those words mean. And you can't, the winter goes by and you don't use them, so you have to look them up again in the spring. Like, what? Oh yeah, that's right.
You dust off your books.
Yeah.
For the spring survey.
So it's really fabulous that way, and people just fall in love. People fall in love with birds too. I mean, people are crazy over birds and bird identification, and it gives them so much joy. Anyway.
A lot of bios I work with too, herps.
Yeah,
they're
some
herps.
people love
They
herps.
just go on herp vacations.
Oh, yes. I know.
Snakes.
Herp vacations. Not me, but okay.
It's fun to hear about.
It's fun to hear. It's fun to hear about people's passions and what really makes them light up inside. I think it's extraordinary.
Beautiful. I'm going to change gears here. I want to ask specifically about professional development. You've been in botany in the West for a while. I don't have much, very little experience in botany at all, so I don't know like how certifications work or rare plant, like how are the credentials or how that's even evolved over the past decade, or the differences between regional, state, and federal. So I'll just start with the first question. Do you hold any, botanical specific professional certifications?
Well, I have a master's in botany, so that gives me a lot of clout. But I will say that the California Native Plant Society has always been concerned that a lot of these consulting companies send out people that are not really qualified to do botany surveys.
Sure.
Because so many people don't understand how intricate botany is. And sometimes they'll say, you're a biologist, just go do it. But that person is really a wildlife biologist. So oftentimes botany is very shortchanged, and people that are qualified are not doing botany surveys. And so the California Native Plant Society decided to have a botany certification program where you had to take a test and pass. And there was, I don't know the details exactly, but I think I remember it was something like they have, part of the test is identifying things without a book. So knowing species without keying them out, just because that's what botanists should be able to do.
To have some baseline library.
In their own minds. And so I think there was like 500 species that you could have on the test that you would need to know. But I don't know the different components. Probably there was also some component where you would key things out, some component where they expected you to know common things without keying it out. And having just a botanical vocabulary and ecological understanding of plants. So that certification, California Native Plant Society has been pushing companies to have people that have passed that test before they go out and survey. But there's no law requiring it, so people have not taken it as seriously as they should. And I, having a master's, felt like I could kind of circumvent it because I've been always so busy. Botany is pretty time consuming. If you want to do a good job, it's very time consuming.
There's no slow season.
There's always, there's reports, there's data, there's also, before I go to a project, I study the plants, the common ones, as well as the characters that make the rare ones rare. So that when I'm on the ground, my time, which is limited, they don't give you endless time, is utilized for the plants for the maximal benefit of them. I feel very much like my job here is to protect plants, to do the best I can for the plants, and they are my client. They've always been my client. So there's a lot of studying of the taxonomy before I go to a project, and then I collect a lot of plants and I have to key them out and I have to make a plant list, and I have to study every night if I want to make sure I'm doing a good job.
Fantastic. California Native Plant Society, yeah, they have a program, they have a cert. It's not mandatory, might not be widely adopted. Are you like a member of CNPS, or do you participate or volunteer with them at all?
I am a member of CNPS, and I am a member of the Oregon Native Plant Society.
Cool.
I was on the state board. I have been on committees. I have been on the board of the Pollinator Project Rogue Valley and helped it get nonprofit status and start an educational arm and nursery, so we could distribute native plants to homeowners so they could start being like a forest service for native pollinators. If we want native pollinators to be here, we need to provide the plants that are to their benefit.
Fantastic. I just blanked. California Native Plant Society, Oregon Native Plant Society. I wanted to ask about the Wildlife Society. Is that strictly fauna? Is there any botany folks in there? Do you ever hang with those guys?
So they asked me to do a class, botany for wildlife bios, and I ended up not doing it, but there were other great people. But I talked to them about it for a while, and my schedule was just too packed.
It's on the list sometime in the next decade.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind teaching at a community college or at a university. I think it would be so fun to just turn people on to the plants. I think I would have a blast.
I'm almost there. I'm ready to start slowing down and just do night school or something. Yeah, start lecturing. The other one I wanted to ask was Xerxes Society, the bee folks. When you talked about the pollinator group, I was like, they do a ton of work in the Central Valley and Central Coast. Are they active up north, Ashland, South Oregon?
They're active across the country.
It's like National Forest is all around.
Because our pollinators are rapidly declining.
Kind of like a catastrophic
decline,
extinction event. Yeah.
Yes.
Wild.
Right. Wild.
Professional certifications, society memberships. So are you active with CNPS right now and Oregon NPS? Are there any like initiatives you're working on these days? Or do you guys have seasonal, like if you have a slow season, you'll pick up and put on workshops or anything?
Currently, I am not.
On the grind, full time.
That's right.
Copy that.
Well, I have a 92-year-old mother, and she needs a lot of help, so it's curtailed. I had to get off the board of the Pollinator Project Rogue Valley because of that. I just could not, different times we have different responsibilities, and we have to step up to them.
Medical care is a part-time job. Like when you have issues and you're going to doctors, like it very quickly becomes part-time, full-time job. For sure.
When you have a parent who's in their 90s, they can't take care of themselves the way they used to. You have to really pay attention to everything, pay bills, manage medical care, manage dental care. It's really incredible. Move them, make sure they're okay. I mean, there's a lot.
And you've still got that balancing act. You're like heading south every couple of weeks, hitting the road. That's awesome. Do you drive down, or are you like flying into SFO and then drive over here?
I drive home sometimes.
Got it.
Yeah, I drive home sometimes. So I had 2 projects in the Mojave Desert this year. I had one project on the Oregon coast for the Siuslaw National Forest. I had one project in Monterey in California for the Ellicott National Wildlife Refuge. Let's see, and I think this year was my least. I did not do so many different jobs. This year had the fewest botany jobs. Sometimes I'm juggling 8 or 9 jobs in a year. It's a lot, actually, because if you think about the flora, you think about the data, you think about
8 different, totally unrelated systems,
ecosystems,
like sections of the continent. They could be,
That's right.
Wild.
Right, and of course.
Which has its own
Central
diversity
Valley.
Across the 100 miles,
Alkalinity,
too.
salinity, cool. Sand habitats. It's very interesting. I've enjoyed being in the Central Valley. Right now, the diversity that there used to be on this project doesn't exist. It's a lot more annual weeds, and that's kind of heartbreaking, but the rare plants are still surviving. They're early several species, which is like an early pioneer. They like, the rare plants that we have on this project, which completely makes sense, they are species that like disturbance. So
they have a fighting chance.
Yeah, so when construction workers go in and bulldoze a road, but leave some soil, they colonize it within a year. I come back the next year, and even though the road's been graded, the road's been leveled, they haven't been there recently, and the plants grow back, and guess what? The rare plants grow back because they like that habitat.
That 3-inch berm on the side is chock full.
Chock full.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And if you think about the history of the Central Valley has been disturbed.
It's been heavily graded for a while.
It's agriculture, everything. So, of course, the plants that survive here and that you still find here are ones that can deal with disturbance. And the ones that can't deal with disturbance, you are not going to find here. They are gone. They have left. They are no longer here. They've been extirpated.
Yeah, they can't compete, and they're...
Well, their habitat needs... Their habitat needs are not met in this valley. And you won't find them. Just so you understand a little bit about habitat. Plants can be very specific about their habitats. Humans have more ability to be here, there, or there, but they live in a house with air conditioning and heat, and they buy food at the supermarket. Plants don't have that opportunity.
Right, humans are mobile.
And our needs, we create a way that our needs are kept stable. Plants, their needs are based on the climate, and the water, and the soil, and the sun.
Stability not being destroyed.
God, it's incredible.
Okay, circling back to the societies, do you have any advice or lessons learned for like new professionals leaving, you could say K-12 or even post-baccalaureate, of like how to engage with societies or how to engage in the industry to expand and explore?
You mean how to become a botanist, or
yeah, like how to get into botany other than just applying to 150 jobs and like seeing what happens, which is good to do.
So let's say you like botany and you haven't gone to college yet. Go to a UC school. Their programs are great. Their research is great. They're geared for students to be trained in research. The schools are exceptional. They have people that will teach you, and they have opportunities so you can get a job. I would say the UC schools far and away give students the best learning and the best opportunities for a career in the future. Whatever it is you want. If you want to be an academic, if you want to be a researcher, if you want to be a field person. I would also say there's tons of volunteer opportunities. And for you to get into a good school and for you to get a job, volunteer at a botanic garden. Volunteer. Volunteering teaches you so much. It introduces you to people that do that job. And in botany, believe me, the world is small. It's not a big world of botanists. It's a small world. They know each other. And you gain so much experience from volunteering. It just sets you up for the next thing, the next maybe awesome volunteer job, or your school, getting into a school or a job. So there's so much opportunity, and don't sell yourself short. I think people sell themselves short and says, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not this. There's something in them that's a doubter. Don't let yourself be bullied by that doubter. Go for it, because you'll be fine. And people are excited to teach people, and people want to see young people interested. They love these plants. They want it to continue in the next generations.
Volunteering is kind of a two-way. I feel like it allows the, how do you say that, the manager or the person running the opportunity to observe, just to observe your performance. But on the flip side, for people that do have that self-doubt, it provides them with a very low-risk opportunity to show themselves that they can do it, right? The risk of failure is 0. There's no problem. In most cases, pleasantly surprised that, you find you can do it. And they do it. So it's like internship has connotations. I don't really like using that word anymore. Volunteering is like just practice working. That's the best way to say it, I think. Best way to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, a couple, 2 or 3 more questions. What's the craziest day of field work you can remember? That could be scary, happy, sad, or just unique.
Oh, yeah. I've had many, many phenomenal days where I saw so many things that just took my breath away. But for sure, the most incredible experience was I was working in Utah in a wilderness area, and I was looking for a corydalus, a rare corydalus. And this rare corydalus liked to have its roots wet, which meant it would be along a creek that had running water.
Perennial.
Right. So and basically what I was doing, this job was about verifying historic records. So there was a herbarium reference for this particular corydalus in this area along this creek in Utah, in the wilderness, deep in the wilderness. And so I was verifying, did that corydalus still exist at that site? So I went to that site.
You found the herbarium.
So I went to that site I had a field assistant at that time, and he was amazing. He wasn't a botanist, but he was just super good, smart, loved the natural world, could have easily been a biologist, just was interested, into it, awesome. And we were there hiking up and down this creek looking, and we came across this giant stand of Canada thistle, which is super thorny. And we thought, okay, we're going to walk around the Canada thistle, not through it. So we left the creek, tried to get around this Canada thistle, and we hit this road. And the road had a curve in it. And we were walking up this road towards the curve, and all of a sudden, on the road, literally 20 feet in front of us, on the other end of the curve, was a mountain lion walking along the road. We were walking along the road going one way. It was, and I think it was a she, was walking along the road the other way. We were walking towards each other with just this curve in between us. And it was a super windy day, so I think the mountain lion didn't smell us because the wind was blowing our scent in the other direction.
Covers the sound too.
And the wind was also covering the sound. So we sort of saw each other at the same time. My eyes locked into the mountain lion locks into our eyes.
Hey.
And for me and Daniel, who was my field botanist assistant, it was the most incredible day of our lives. And I am so glad we were with each other and we weren't alone. That's all I have to say. But the mountain lion saw us, we saw the mountain lion, our eyes locked, and nobody moved for seconds. And I was, again, like that story from when I was in the 5th grade. It was like I left my body into this world of, look at this incredible.
They're big too.
Creature.
Huge cat.
I didn't think mountain lion. I didn't think anything. I was like,
it's gorgeous.
I was like, the stars in your eyes, like those, those cartoons when they're like, that was what it was like. And then
living in the moment.
I totally living in the moment. It was so incredible. And I've seen mountain lions from within my car when I'm driving the wilderness.
Very different.
I do not have that experience. It's just like, oh, there's a mountain lion. Okay. Wow, cool, incredible, but not like. Anyway, face to face, let me tell you, face to face, an animal face to face like that, a wild animal like that, there's nothing like it. Now, I have to say about this mountain lion, I have never felt such dignity and this like regalness emanating from this
voice.
mountain lion, and absolute, I am grounded and in charge. I mean, I've never felt anything like that from any human. I've never felt it like that. It was so palpable, this dignity, this regal, this I am powerful.
King of the desert.
Totally. And so the mountain lion like came to its senses. I don't know what to say, but came to its senses before I did. And it turned around.
All right, later.
It turned around. It was incredible. And I still didn't wake up to, oh, it's a mountain lion. I was still like, ugh. And it took its tail. You know, mountain lions have this long tail, and it kind of flicked the tail, so it went like that. And then it was like, boom. I was like, oh my God, a mountain lion. Oh my God. And it walked away from us along the road with this incredible gait. Again, the dignity. I mean, the power, the dignity, the regal, the
like
just,
feline poise.
Oh my God. So that was definitely a day I will never, ever forget.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a question about the past. What are you excited about this year? Any
this upcoming year?
Yeah, we'll say, summer, fall, 2025, 26.
Well,
got anything cooking? Are you on the grind?
Yeah, so
looking forward to some OT?
I was talking to a data steward for the Mojave Ground Squirrel Conservation Council project. He's also the data steward for the Desert Tortoise Research Natural Area, which is near California City in the Mojave Desert. And he was saying, Cecile, we're going to be in touch with you. We have other grants that we think we're going to get, and we want your input, and we're going to do all this other work for the next couple of years, and could you be interested? And so
that counts.
That's where it's at, because they do such great work. Their work is so conservation oriented.
California City, is that the Mojave Plain, or is that Salton Basin, Coachella Valley?
No, not Coachella Valley. It's sort of like, the town of Mojave.
Uh-huh.
So it's sort of the floor. It's Laria. It's creosote scrub.
Got it. On the flats.
On the flats. It gets a little bit, there's a little variation in there, but it gets a little hilly. But California City's pretty flat and lowest elevation. So Laria. So creosote.
Pure, honest conservation research. That's the dream, baby.
It's the dream.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So thank you. I've enjoyed my time. I hope you have too.
That was a blast. You're a real gem. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming out.
Yeah.
Next one we'll do a field show.
Well, yeah, we should do it though in a Darlingtonia wetland.
You're on.
You have to come up to Oregon with your family.
Yes, please.
Okay.
It's on the list.
I have space in my
Road
house.
trip.
I have a space in my house.
And then so that concludes the show, and then the last